Our next presenter, Eric Williamson. As a nationally recognized keynote speaker and expert training consultant, Eric believes that no matter how talented, gifted, or experienced, and no matter what role we serve or title we carry, our level of success is not measured based on the work we produce. It is measured based on the relationships that we build. Eric is the author of the book, How to Work with Jerks, and president and CEO of Tailored Training Solutions, who helps companies, associations, and organizations build stronger customer and workplace relationships and high-performing teams. Last year, Eric shared with you about how to work with jerks. But this year, he will share with you about how to not become a jerk yourself. He is uniquely qualified for this subject, having both worked with jerks and admittedly having been a jerk himself once or twice before, right? I think we can all admit to that. Please, everyone, welcome Eric, author of the book, How to Work with Jerks, to the stage.
For a round of applause, clap your hands if you agree that jerks can be a real pain to work with. Go ahead, you can clap. Don't worry, the person you're sitting next to has no clue you might be talking about them. But before we go any further, let me share with you what a jerk is. In my book, How to Work with Jerks, I define a jerk as someone who doesn't use social skills as a necessary job skill. Now, whether they deny that they lack social skills or just don't recognize the importance of it, jerks, they could be a real pain. Now, I shared this concept with a bunch of people, including some people here tonight. I even shared it with a mentor of mine who laughed me out of the room and said, "Are you crazy? You are the worst jerk of all time. Talk about the pot calling the kettle. You were a real pain in the you-know-what." So I thought about it, and I thought she was right. I mean, if you look at the word jerk in a dictionary, you would see a picture of me. I mean, I lashed out at people if I didn't like what they had to say. I told people to shut up or get lost. If they just annoyed me, just kept yapping away. But I realized my mentor was onto something when people would walk up to me after my workshops and ask, "Eric, how do I know if I'm a jerk?" It's not like people are going to walk up to me and say, "Hey, how are you going to act like a jerk?" So I got to thinking, how can I help people determine whether they're a jerk? And how can I help them prevent them from becoming a jerk in the first place? Like, wouldn't that help build productivity, strengthen relationships? Wouldn't that be a great superpower to have? So I got to thinking, there are two types of jerks. One who's unaware and one who's aware but just doesn't care. Because it's Monday, I don't care. It's Wednesday night at Ignite for whatever reason. I also realized that we could become jerks in 4 different ways. Lack of generational awareness, lack of training and preparation, too much technology, yes, too much technology, and financial uncertainty. Now, lack of generational awareness can cause a lot of frustration. Right now, we have at least 4 different generations in today's workforce, which is great because it promotes diversity and creativity to solve problems. But when we fail to acknowledge these types of generations and see what they bring to the workforce and adjust our working style to suit them, we can create jerks. And lack of training and preparation is equally as frustrating. Some newly appointed leaders just aren't ready to perform their new leadership role. Why? Because they were promoted for doing their former job very well and lack the skill set needed to lead people. It's like my mentor told me, what got you here won't get you there. And too much technology can cause a lot of frustration as well. It's removed us from the face-to-face connection we were once used to. Cell phones and laptops have drastically altered our human interaction, so it makes us ill-prepared to have those crucial conversations and deal with conflict at work. Also, financial uncertainty causes a lot of anxiety as well. When companies and people that work there face financial hardships, jerks can appear out of nowhere. People, they can get frustrated with the fear of having to start all over again after losing their job, and equally frustrated when they miss out on that promotion or that raise they've been looking for. And also, it's not money or location or lack of passion which makes people quit their jobs. It's jerks. You know how the old saying goes. People don't quit companies, they quit bosses. Well, especially those that act like jerks. And check this out. 60% of the people that are staying at the jobs, they are unmotivated to do their job. They are disengaged, meaning that translates to over $450 billion in lost productivity because they do just enough to stay under your radar and outside of your crosshairs. So who knew that jerks would be this problematic and costly? So what can you do to prevent from becoming a jerk? Well, the first thing is don't do what I did and tell people to shut up and get lost. Instead, if you feel like doing that, before you open your mouth, try this instead. See that awkward silence? That's an example of me telling someone to shut up and get lost. And then coming up with a more appropriate response to delivering that well. Here's what else you can do. Recognize your emotions and understand what's driving you to act a certain way. Write it down in a journal. Take some quiet time to think, because the better you can recognize your emotions, the better you can make sounder decisions. And here's another thing. Practice perspective. Remember, we can't always be right. So no matter how badly we think someone deserves to be told to shut up or get lost, we need to see things from their perspective. And it's not just about putting yourself in someone else's shoes. It's about connecting with them because they're human. And lastly, it doesn't matter how smart, talented, and gifted you are, or what role you carry or title you have. Success is based on the relationships that you build. So build those relationships. But don't be a jerk, okay? Thanks.